Chinese disinformation? Was there manipulation of social media or anything like that going on in this?
First of all, let me say, I don't speak for the Chinese government, no. So I don't know, if 10% of the reports of outside influence are true, then there was an awful lot going on. And I think it's a testament, and it is a sort of, as the United States thinks about our own democracy and our own concerns about the elections this year, it's instructive that it's, outside influence is significant, but it doesn't have to be, determinative. That obviously there was a strong effort from outside of Taiwan to influence the outcome, and just as obviously, it really wasn't successful. That if you look at any number of factors, probably the easiest one is the support that Tsai Ing-wen had the last election was pretty much what she had this time. So whatever the effort to influence the Taiwan elections wasn't particularly successful. I will say, Beijing has tried to influence Taiwan politics a number of times. It has done really badly almost every time.
I mean, it was a big concern, particularly after the 2018 midterms, where one of the accounts for Han Kuo-yu's meteoric and surprising rise was getting driven up on Facebook hits, ostensibly because of accounts on the mainland. So there clearly was an impact there. But you have to have a lot of disinformation to swing an election where one party starts out 20 points ahead. So it's hard to imagine much of an impact there. But everybody's on high alert, and Shelley may want to speak to this as well. In the groups that she and I were with, we met with the Taiwan Fact Check people and with Puma Shen, an academic who works in this area, and there was some pretty sophisticated stuff going on there about detecting and tracking down what was going on. Facebook actually has been pretty cooperative in Taiwan with trying to label fake news, much more so than we've seen in the US. So there's been some pushback. And particularly if it's Chinese manipulation, I mean, one of the problems was that China was in very ill odor with Taiwan voters because of the Hong Kong thing, because of the Xi Jinping speech. So if we're meant to persuade people to pro-China viewpoints, that was going to be pretty tough, a very tough sell, given the environment. So in that sense, that's all kind of good news. The bad news is that these things are really hard to pin down and to track down. And it's like trying to kill a hydra. It keeps growing new heads, and so it comes from all over the place. There are mainland-backed and controlled accounts. There are people who do it for money. You get enough followers, and you get bucks out of it. Other people who do it out of ideological preferences. And one of the things that is a real challenge in a liberal democracy like Taiwan is, what do you do about opinions that are held and fake news that is spread by people who are citizens? Wherever they get it, they have noxious views. What are you going to do about it? And that's just part of the game, and to sort of try to trace back and attribute it to outside influence. You can sometimes do it, you sometimes can't, but it's a very tricky game to get into. And one of the controversies on the eve of the election was the passage of an anti-infiltration law. And what drove that was the concern about this kind of foreign influence, quite legitimate. But it became quite controversial because it is a fairly sparse law, and it's a vague law. So it's easy enough to imagine ways that it could be abused. And so it became just another focal point for inter-party friction, because there's a perfectly good argument that one needs defenses against these kinds of things, yet there's an argument that these kinds of state powers can be abused, and so it became fodder for that whole kind of discussion. I don't think we've heard the last of it. It's sort of telling that the implementation of that law was pushed back some because of the reaction that it got and the accusation to be done from political ends. So it's just a really tough and intractable problem. Taiwan dodged the bullet in this last election, but they, like every democracy, are going to have to grapple with it going forward. I guess Taiwan should be grateful the Russians aren't terribly interested.